Welcome, seekers of truth and might. This is Anime What If Saga, where myth becomes memory, and destiny is written in divine light. Previously, we witnessed the evolution of the system, from divine code to conscious will. But now, we enter the age where power gained form, and shadows themselves bowed before a mortal. This is the reign of the Shadow Monarch. The world had changed. The system, once silent and impartial, now pulsed like a living heart beneath reality. Every hunter felt its rhythm, in the hum of gates, in the whisper of mana, in the beating of their souls. But for Jin Woo, the sound was deafening. The power that coursed through him was no longer borrowed, it belonged to him. The rulers had recognized him. The monarchs feared him. He had become the fulcrum of balance between creation and destruction. Yet, amid the infinite shadows that obeyed his will, Jin Woo stood alone. Power brings silence. And in silence, truth echoes. He began to hear faint remnants within the system, fragments of voices, emotions, memories not his own. Every shadow soldier carried the echo of a life once lived. Igras, faithful and silent, once a proud knight. Beru, fierce and loyal, once a king of monsters. Each one was a mirror, a reflection of Jin Woo's humanity, preserved within darkness. And within their loyalty, he found his peace. But the cosmos knew no peace. Far beyond human sight, in the scarred dimensions between worlds, the monarchs gathered. Their forms were made of nightmares, wings of flame, jaws of void, eyes like eclipses. They spoke not with words, but with intent, their hatred vibrating through the fabric of creation. The balance is broken, one hissed. The system has turned against its design. The Shadow Monarch has defied extinction. From the depths of the abyss, the Dragon Monarch, Antares, King of Destruction, rose. His voice cracked the skies of 1,000 realms. If light would protect this vessel, he roared, then shadows shall consume him. Let the final war begin. The monarchs moved, not as armies, but as concepts of annihilation. Each brought a storm of ruin, each step birthing new calamities. Gates opened not to dungeons, but to wars of creation. And at their center stood humanity, fragile, trembling, yet unyielding. They looked to the skies and saw only chaos. But within that chaos, a single shadow stood still. When the monarchs descended, the world cracked open like glass. Cities turned to craters. Mountains vanished. But as the armies of chaos poured forth, the ground beneath their feet turned black, alive with pulsating shadow. A voice echoed through the void. Arise. From the depths, Jin Woo's army emerged, an endless sea of darkness, soldiers forged from courage and death. Every hunter who had fallen in battle now rose anew, not as victims, but as warriors of shadow. The system's code flared across the skies like divine lightning. Shadow extraction, successful. Army of the dead, active. Command, dominate. The rulers watched from the heavens, their light wavering in awe. Never before had humanity stood shoulder to shoulder with gods. Antares thundered across the battlefield, his flames devouring cities. But Jin Woo did not flinch. He walked through fire, his aura bending the laws of reality itself. Every step he took rewrote creation. Antares laughed, the sound of apocalypse. You are no god. You are a mistake of the system. Jin Woo replied calmly, then let the mistake rewrite the code. Their clash split the heavens. The roar of shadow met the scream of flame. The world became a battlefield between algorithms of divinity, light, fire, and void colliding in patterns that defied physics. It was not war. It was evolution. Victory was never free. As Jin Woo's power reached its zenith, the system began to unravel. Its code could no longer contain the magnitude of his essence. The divine algorithms looped endlessly, unable to measure what he had become. Error. Value exceeds limit. Warning. System instability detected. Administrator, override required. The system called out to its master. It did not beg. It warned. Ashbourne's voice returned, soft, weary, infinite. You have reached the end of the code, my successor. Every law bends to you now. But to preserve creation, something must be lost. Jin Woo's hands trembled. The battlefield around him glowed like molten memory. He could save the world, but not himself. If he unleashed his full power, his existence would collapse the balance entirely. For the first time, the system faltered, waiting for a command from the man it once ruled. He closed his eyes. And for one silent heartbeat, time itself held its breath. Then he whispered, reset it all. But let them live. The world dissolved. Light and shadow merged into a single blinding pulse that engulfed existence. Every monarch's scream faded into silence. Every ruler's radiance dimmed. In that final instant, the system obeyed. Administrator command accepted. World recalibration initiated. Temporal reversal engaged. Time folded back upon itself. The war vanished. The destruction was undone. Humanity awoke to a world before the final battle, unaware of the apocalypse that had been averted. But Jin Woo did not return with them. He remained outside of time, standing in the void between resets, the eternal corridor, where the system reboots creation. There, his body became shadow, his soul light, and his memory immortal. In the silence of eternity, Jin Woo opened his eyes. He stood before the system's core, a swirling nexus of runes and light, now flickering with instability. He could feel the echoes of every battle, every choice, every loss. He saw his mother's smile, his sister's tears, his comrades' courage. They were safe. The world was safe. But the cost was solitude. Ashbourne appeared beside him, a fragment of consciousness, the shadow of what once was. Ashbourne said, "You have done what I could not. You have proven that strength does not require divinity, only will." Jin Woo asked quietly, "Then why do I still feel hollow?" Ashbourne smiled faintly. "Because you are still human." The system pulsed one final time. Final directive. Integrate human will into code. Objective. Eternal balance. Jin Woo raised his hand and touched the glowing core. The light flowed through him like a river of stars. The system merged with his essence, no longer a tool, but an extension of his will. He whispered, "Then I'll watch over them, as both man and shadow." And with that, the realm of code vanished. When the world resumed, history rewrote itself. The hunters still existed. The gates still opened. The mana still flowed. But the wars of gods were forgotten, sealed within the dream of a man who chose peace over power. The system continued to function, now calmer, wiser, almost human. Its quests carried compassion. Its challenges taught wisdom. Its voice, once cold and distant, carried a trace of warmth, as though it remembered the soul that had rewritten its code. And deep within its algorithms, hidden in the silence between updates, a message lingered. For every shadow, there is light. For every end, a new beginning. Sung Jin Woo, Administrator Eternal. He had not vanished. He had become the balance. Every time a new hunter awakened, every time a human refused to give up, every time courage rose against despair, Jin Woo's essence stirred. His shadow walked among them, unseen yet guiding. The Shadow Monarch was no longer a being. He was a principle, the embodiment of humanity's potential to rise, fall, and rise again. Centuries passed. Empires fell. Nations evolved. Yet tales persisted, myths of a man who commanded darkness to protect the light. Some called him the god of shadows. Others, the savior of gates. But the oldest scrolls named him something else. The eternal player. Because the system, his greatest creation and his greatest curse, continued its cycle. Each generation born stronger than the last. Each test harder, deeper, wiser. And when humanity once again reaches the brink, when light and darkness wage war anew, the system's final message will echo once more across creation. Player reinitialization protocol activated. Successor selection in progress. And somewhere, beyond the boundaries of space and time, the shadow of Sung Jinwoo will open his eyes. He will look upon the next chosen soul and whisper, "Rise. Your story begins now." And thus, the reign of the Shadow Monarch came to define an age, not through conquest, but through sacrifice. He rewrote the code of creation and chose compassion over control. The system endures, not as his cage, but as his legacy, the silent guardian that tests all who dare to ascend. This was the system, the Shadow Monarch's reign. If this tale resonated with your soul, remember to like, comment, and share it. Subscribe to Anime What If Saga, where legends are reborn through voice, will, and shadow. And never forget, the greatest power is not to dominate, but to rise.